Creative fears sometimes hold me back. Sometimes. The hardest part of the growth process is not unclear direction. And a lot of the time, you might know exactly how to get where you want to go. And that precisely is the problem. Hello, and welcome to another video. I heard a story from a ceramics teacher, and she said that she noticed something in her students when they first got into ceramics and learned the basics. One of the things that a lot of students got excited about and wanted to get right into was making a teapot. And I can understand, because teapots are really cool. So the issue is, making a teapot is apparently very challenging, and there's a lot of skill set necessary to execute a project like that. And when the students first get into the class, that's something that they really want to do because there's a novelty that comes along with making a teapot. But she lets them know that you're not ready to make a teapot yet, you don't have the skills necessary. And once they actually learn the skills and they've been in the class for a little bit longer and they have more experience under their belt, and then she says, all right, now you're ready to make a teapot, they don't want to make a teapot anymore, because now they know how much of a challenge it actually is to make a teapot, which I thought was pretty interesting. The ignorance of being a beginner and just getting into something, you think you can take on any challenge, and you have no fear because you don't know what there is to fear, and so you want to try everything. But once you've been at it for a little while, you get a better understanding of the challenges and obstacles that might come with something that elaborate, and suddenly what seemed to be fun in the beginning now seems like a hassle and a big challenge, and so you want to stay away from that. I can kind of relate to the sentiment. When I first started learning how to sew, I didn't have a lot of confidence in my abilities. And then when I made my first dress, I realized that this was actually a lot easier than I had anticipated. And so I felt like I could make literally anything, and I couldn't, trust me. The more that I've learned and the more experience I have gotten, I have experienced different fabrics and different sewing techniques, and the further along I've gone, the more I've realized that sometimes it can be a really big challenge to make something that might seem simple at first. For me, that's always been denim. I have been afraid of denim since, I don't know for how long, but since almost the beginning of my sewing experience. I have been afraid of denim and I've stayed away from denim, which is funny because I have been gifted I don't know how many yards, but 2 rolls of denim fabric. I have never had to purchase it, and one of them is a lighter blue denim, and it's very soft, and that's what I'm using to make the project that you're seeing in this video. For the longest time, they just sat in a trunk or stuffed away somewhere where I was not really that interested in using them. I had projects in mind, but because it was denim, I didn't really want to use it. Now, the reason why I had a fear of denim is because it's notoriously pretty tough and it's thick, and not all machines can even handle denim. And there are like denim needles that you can buy that I'm assuming are a bit stronger or somehow made to handle that kind of fabric. So denim's a very tough, durable fabric, and I was more willing to work with like cottons and viscose, something like very thin and easy, and just seemed like I can handle that. But denim, I don't know, it just seemed like an Everest that I wasn't really ready to climb yet. But I knew that I did want to start using more denim. And so I chose the lighter colored soft denim because it's not as stiff as maybe a denim that you'd get in like some denim jeans. And I thought, well, if I'm going to have an intro into denim, this is probably the way that I should go. So that's what I'm doing. So when you have a fear creatively or in any other aspect of your life, a lot of the advice that you'll get is to just face it head on. You can't go around it, you can't go over it, and you can't get under it. You have to go straight through it. And I have always hated that advice. But there is a lot of truth to that. I knew that I would come up against denim at some point in my creative journey because I would maybe get an order from a client asking me to make something out of denim. And I didn't want it to be the chink. Is it chink? I don't know, the chink in my armor. I didn't want it to end up being the chink in my armor. I think chink is the word. That doesn't sound right. I didn't want it to be the weakest link in my tool belt. I didn't want it to be something that I always had to sidestep, always have to work around or get around. I wanted to get a handle on denim and not be living in fear for the rest of my life. So I took on making a denim dress. Something else to note is denim wasn't the only thing that was a challenge with this project or a fear that I was facing, but I also made a sleeveless dress. I've never made a sleeveless dress, and if you don't have any experience with sewing or pattern making, that might not seem like a big deal, but patterns for a sleeveless dress as opposed to a dress that would have sleeves are a little bit different, and they're different in the like armhole and shoulder area because you have to sometimes account for the fact that you're adding a sleeve, so you need a little bit more volume and bulk around the armhole and shoulder area, whereas if there's no sleeves, then you want no bulk. You want everything to lay very flat and not to have any excess fabric. And so that was the thing that I was also scared of, and so I just only made dresses with sleeves. But I didn't want to get stuck because I tend to get stuck creatively whenever I'm learning something new. My growth is often stunted by my own apprehension and fear of what's around the next corner. I think everybody at one point or another has experienced your brain has a funny way of blowing things out of proportion. And we tend to try and predict the future and what will happen. And when you're too ignorant, you don't really have enough information to consider what could be. But once you start learning, you realize that there are challenges that you're going to have to come up against at some point. And everybody has a choice whether you can decide to just run away and hide from those challenges or face them head on and go further and grow taller than you ever imagined. No matter what the challenge is, it's always worth tackling, and you might not do it perfect the first time, because I think some of us have an issue with expecting ourselves to do things perfectly the first time, and if it's not perfect the first time, what was the point? Maybe I should just stick to what I'm good at. But if you only ever stick to what you're good at, you won't be good at very much. If you'll just try, you'll probably get further than if you would just live in fear the whole time. There is freedom in conquering your fears. You no longer have to be a slave to what you're afraid of. You can just live freely with the knowledge that you can handle it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like, share it with a friend. Comment down below if you have any creative fears that you need to tackle or a fear in any way. And if you already have, share your experience and what that was like and what you learned from it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time. Keep it classy.